Can somebody smarter than me identify the phenomenon where we're not getting to own?
Yeah, so unfortunately that is capitalism and colonization. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Blob. I haven't seen the movie The Blob. I know the premise of The Blob. It's just this big blob, rolls around, picks things up, absorbs it into its body. It gets bigger and bigger. That's my concept of the blob. Capitalism and colonization is that same thing. Europeans came to North America because they needed beaver pelts. The big thing, especially in Canada, was beaver pelts. Why? Because they had already pretty much hunted them to extinction in Europe. They used the beaver pelts, like not the outside coat, but the more insulated coat. That's felt. That's what they used on their top hats. We're using so much of it, there was no beavers left. So they came to North America and wanted beaver pelts. They hunted those beavers. They went to almost complete extinction. And then the trend, the fad, changed. Then they started consuming more things. They were eating buffalo in North America, like indigenous people were helping supply them with buffalo. It's called pemmican, what they would make. They were these little bricks of food that were buffalo meat and berries, and it was like 2,000 to 3,000 calories per bar. So they were eating pemmican. And once again, the buffalo population went from 3 million down to, I think it was 1,000. And part of that was them intentionally unaliving buffalo en masse so that indigenous people wouldn't have a food source anymore or the ability to sell or provide pemmican, because once again they had moved on. The problem becomes there's only so much things you consume because our world is finite. We can't just make more of everything. What we have on this planet is what we have. But we were cutting down trees and forests and all of these things, logging so heavily in Canada. We're having issues because they were just wiping out entire forests. Even in the Amazon, they're having this issue of them wiping out the Amazon because they are, I believe in the Amazon, palm oil they're mass producing, or they were mass producing. They were running out of olive oil because the trees in Italy produce olive oil, don't have enough olives to provide. It's a complicated thing, but basically same thing there, right? We are consuming things so rapidly. We are running out of things. And in order for capitalism to thrive, we need products, which is why we're seeing a move from physical products to digital products, because they have ran out of the ability to sell physical products in the way that they were. Now we're running into the Congo. We're mining for lithium and people are being unalived for it. People are mining these things in unsafe ways that they can make the batteries in our electronic products. We consume those electronic goods on. They need to do it in a cheap enough fashion that they make enough profit from it. That's why we see houses and places people are living getting smaller and smaller and smaller, because they're trying to sell less for more. Capitalism and colonization. It's led to even the conspiracy theories around certain fires, burning down certain areas that more impoverished people live in order to build bigger homes that you can sell to the wealthier people, and or build multi homes on one piece of land that would have been for one person, because they're running out. There's only so much product to sell, which is why we're even now going to subscription models. Even those are starting to fail because there's also a finite amount of people that can purchase things. Meta ran into this issue a long time ago with Facebook, because the only way for a company to be perceived as doing well is for it to continuously grow. Facebook had a problem, and that problem was almost everyone who is eligible and old enough and able to be on Facebook was on Facebook. They can't grow anymore. They can't get more ad revenue. They can't do any of those things because they had capped out on Facebook, which is why you start seeing them, like the Blob, acquiring more companies. It's also why the Orange Cheeto and all the people around him will only get along for so long, because there's only so much to go around. And having, he had those 4 like mega online people at his inauguration. They're all there together. Yay. They're all competitors. They will only last or be, civil as long as their bottom line, as long as the capitalistic upwards trend continues. As we've seen with Walmart, and he told Walmart to eat the cost of the tariffs, and Walmart doesn't want to, because Walmart wants to be continue like the Blob to absorb. Capitalism is unsustainable. Capitalism and colonization, the colonization of North America, happened specifically because indigenous people in North America were socialists. See this over and over again. When when European settlers came to North America, specifically Canada, not as much as the United States, is different, but with Canada specifically, the indigenous population was willingly traded old coats because, again, thick layer, thin layer of felt. When they wore their coats, the outer layer, the thicker layer, that would rub off over time. It made the coat not as good, but it made the coat very soft. So they traded their old coats that they were no longer of huge benefit to them and useful for iron that Europe was already using en masse. Problem arose when they no longer wanted beaver pelts and indigenous people had enough metal. They were trading social in a more of a socialist way because indigenous people did not have a concept of money. All they did was, I have more of this, you have more of that, let's trade. You're happy, I'm happy. Europeans liked it until they didn't feel like they were getting more. They were making enough money off the beaver pelts to feel like they were getting more. They had absorbed that and their blob was getting bigger and making them happy back home. See it even now. Hudson's Bay is the company that came to Canada specifically and essentially was just given a third of Canada. A third of the landmass of Canada was given to the Hudson's Bay Company, and that company just went bankrupt. And what did Canadian Tire do? They bought their colorway because Canadian Tire, it's just its own blob trying to absorb.